Daniel.
Good evening, and welcome to Brookside's 2013 8th grade promotion ceremony. My name is Shane Conklin, and I am very proud to be the principal of Brookside School. Thank you to all the parents, friends, and family members for joining us tonight to recognize the accomplishments of this year's promoting 8th graders. Joining us tonight are several special guests. Please join me in welcoming a Lincoln Unified School Board member, Van Ha Tokau, and Associate Superintendent of Educational Services, Kelly Dextrace. I would also like to take a moment to recognize a very special group of people, without whom we would not be here tonight. To your right are the people responsible for teaching and nurturing your children for the past 9 years. These professional educators are second to none. Their dedication to their craft is unparalleled, and the young adults being celebrated tonight are proof positive that Brookside has the best teaching staff anyone could hope to find. Please join me in thanking our teachers for a job well done. Before you are 68 young men and women who have worked diligently to reach this moment. In 2 days, they will be saying goodbye to Brookside. And the next time they attend class, it will be as high school freshmen. Tonight is important because because promotion from 8th grade to high school symbolizes the transition from childhood to young adulthood. Sitting at 8th grade promotion means that you have reached the end of the road here at Brookside, and in some ways, the end of childhood. Ahead of you lies the promise of new adventures and wonderful experiences in high school and beyond. Proms, football games, marching bands, driver's licenses, AP classes, homecomings, SATs, and college applications await you over the next 4 years. 4 years which will undoubtedly change you in ways too numerous to count. But as we look ahead, it is important to reflect on some of the experiences that brought you to this point. Over the past 9 years, you have grown from wide-eyed 5-year-old kindergartners into intelligent, confident, mature young ladies and gentlemen who are prepared for the next chapter. You chased the gingerbread man in kindergarten. You sang the three-piggy opera in 1st grade. You went to Valley Days in 3rd grade and Mission Day in 4th grade. You branched out on your own and went to science camp in 6th grade, which for some of you was the first time you'd been away from your family. Then a major shift took place when you went from 6th grade to 7th grade. You had 6 teachers instead of 1. You had more homework than you would ever have before. Your social world became as important as your academic world, and you began to understand what it means to be responsible for yourself and how difficult that can be. Over the years, you have learned that no matter what challenges you face inside the classroom, you can achieve success with hard work, determination, and grit. You have learned that no matter how old or wise you become, the people who care about you the most are your family. You have learned that strength is not measured in muscles, but in how you treat others and how you make difficult decisions. You have learned that the person you are today is not the person you will be forever. And you have learned that when you spend hundreds of hours at a school making friends and learning about life, it becomes a part of who you are. Brookside will not be the same without you here, and we will miss you terribly. The years that you have spent here have been filled with growth and discovery, and we are proud of the people you've become. But it is time for you to take on a new challenge, one filled with excitement and wonder, one that will test the limits of your abilities in every way, and one that will, one day, allow you to step out into the world as a confident, mature adult. And though this challenge may seem scary and uncomfortable, there is no doubt that you are ready for it. So as you conclude your time here and you begin the next chapter of your journey, please know that no matter how far you may travel or how long you may be gone, you will always have a home here at Brookside. Congratulations, 8th graders. You made it. And now, we have several awards to bestow. The first award we will be bestowing will be the Outstanding Language Arts Student, which will be presented by our language arts teacher, Tony Serini.
Every weekday morning in 1916, it was Glenn Cunningham's job to warm the schoolhouse by lighting a fire in the pot-bellied coal stove. On one of these days, however, the teacher and students arrived to find that the schoolhouse was in flames, with Glenn inside. Hospitalized now and having sustained burns to the lower half of his body, Cunningham overheard the doctor tell his mother that Glenn would be unable to use his legs. Cunningham had different plans, however. Though he was at first consigned to a wheelchair, he decided not to stay there, for one day, having been wheeled into his backyard, Glenn threw himself from his wheelchair and began crawling toward the fence with his arms. When he reached it, he hoisted himself up and began dragging himself along it. He continued this practice day after day until his walks created a worn path around the yard. With the help of his mother's daily massages and his own consistent effort, Glenn was eventually able to stand, then walk with difficulty, and finally he was able to run. The story doesn't end here, however, because this man became one of the greatest track stars of all time. Among other nicknames, he was called the Kansas Flyer because of his long-distance speed. After setting records for the fastest mile runs in his high school, Cunningham eventually earned the fastest mile time in history, in 1934 running the mile at 4 minutes 6 seconds. Such determination inspires in us the truth that all of us have incredible potential. In the context of this school year, nowhere did I see this determination more visibly than in the student I chose. In the time I have known this student, I witnessed a transformation in this student's ability as a writer and a reader. Initially fraught with grammar errors, this student's writing developed to reveal a clear, logical thinker whose claims were based not only on argument, but on evidence as well. As a reader, too, this student showed immense growth in the ability to comprehend, analyze, and respond to literature. Such development did not come easily, however. Naturally inquisitive, this student did not shy away from confronting difficult ideas in class. While a glance at this student's reading log reveals the hours of time spent sitting and working to understand what was on each page. In homework, too, this student exceeded expectations, not for recognition, but for clarity of understanding. Like Glenn Cunningham, then, this student showed a resolve to grow as a person. And it is for this reason that I am proud to present this year's award for language arts to Gabriella Phillips. Hi, I'm 33 years old now. Not missing any awards. Okay. All right, then not for me. I'm going to let Mr. Goyette present the award for mathematics.
I'd first like to acknowledge the fact that this promoting class has 9 students who take math at Lincoln High School every morning at 7:15. That's either honors algebra or the second year of the interactive math program, the second course there. They then come back here for the regular curriculum. They work extremely hard. Some have told me to tears quite often during the year. But the fact that neither Mrs. Davis nor I have mathematical contact with these students, that put them kind of in our ineligible pool for how this award is granted. However, their dedicated work reaps rewards and recognition in other places. There are 11 other students in this promoting class who also start school every morning at 7:15 with a high school level Imp 1 class. Since they've completed their math obligation before the regular school day starts, they're generally entitled to a study period. All 11 of these students voluntarily give up their study period each day to take an additional high school level class, which is Algebra 1. So these 11 kids have kind of a double whammy: less time, more work, all at a high school level. There's a lot of self-discipline to get through these and still perform at a high level in their other academic classes. This year's math award goes to someone who has that inner fire to continually challenge herself and go beyond. She pushes simply for herself. She doesn't show off for others, doesn't let everyone know how well she did on an assignment or a test, never draws attention to what she's doing or how hard she's working, because everything certainly does not come easily to her. In this age of self-adulation and attention-getting that consumes reality TV and sports and then filters down to the general population, it's really refreshing to find this kind of student who does things because it's the right thing to do, all from within, to always get better. This year's math award goes to Tune, Call Me Melody. Mr. Serini would like to have a moment with Gabrielle. The next award is for physical education.
Apparently we have some athletes here. All right, this year's PE award winner has stood out in a variety of ways. She's extremely humble with an outstanding work ethic. The characteristic that stands out most to me regarding this student is their willingness and ability to make the students around them better and to encourage them in whatever game we're playing for that day. This year's award winner makes me think of several pro athletes from sports history. The first one is Bob Gibson, pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals in the 1960s and 70s. The second is Wayne Gretzky, a hockey player for the Edmonton Oilers in the 80s and 90s. And the last one is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a former basketball star for UCLA and later on the Los Angeles Lakers. All of these athletes share one thing in common. That one thing is that they changed the game that they played. They were so dominant that the rules had to be changed to accommodate their unbelievable talent. With Bob Gibson, the pitcher's mound actually had to be lowered to reduce the advantage that he had against the hitters. With Wayne Gretzky, the penalty rules actually had to be altered because he was so dominant in open space. And then with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the NCAA actually had to ban the slam dunk because he could dunk at will and rack up the points. Kareem, of course, adapted and came up with the sky hook. That same sort of dominance has been exhibited by this year's winner. In PE, we play a game called Flugby. It's a combination of soccer, football, and rugby. The scoring system actually had to be changed for this student because she was so dominant. We tried making her shoot with her non-dominant foot, but we couldn't figure out which one that was. We tried to reduce the points that each of her goals counted for, but the numbers in the score just kept adding up. We even tried to limit the number of goals she was allowed to score in the game, but all she did was make the players around her better and racked up the assists. It became a lot of fun to watch for me. And when her team needed to score a goal, I would yell out, "It's Villarino time," and Alexis would take over. This year's award winner is Alexis Villarino. It's Villarino time. Next up is Dr. Davis with the Science Award.
This year we had a particularly spirited group of students in the 8th grade. They were constantly full of energy and motion, which are key areas in the study of physical science. And while it's often said that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, this group is characterized by noise and action. Thus, the ones who stood out the most seemed to be the quiet thinkers. Those who sat in concentrated silence caught my attention, especially one. This student's work and work ethic stood high above the others. In fact, this student could be nominated for several other awards tonight as well. Often, his or her work far exceeded the product that was expected when assigned. Not only that, he or she was a consistent student that never failed to put forth a positive attitude, whether working alone or in a group. This student, on a number of occasions, volunteered to help other students and never complained about the task or the partners put before them. Several times, students even thanked me for including him or her in their group. In fact, this student would accept the challenge and still turn in the most quality work in the class. In addition to being a continually high-achieving student, he or she also has what I like to think of as a passion for science. I would often look over during the lesson and see his or her face deep in concentration. This student wanted to understand the depth of what we were studying and wasn't working hard just to get an A, but to have a better grasp of the atomic model, the periodic table, and the solar system. And always this student would surprise me with the most thought-filled answers in his or her essay responses. Sometimes this student would even slip in little phrases that I had mentioned in class, which I thought no one would remember. He or she has a knack for remembering details that to most people would seem unimportant or boring. In an assignment completed a few weeks ago, this student commented that one of his or her best skills is memorizing random facts. This didn't come as a surprise to me, since his or her average grade for all of the science tests taken this year is a 99.8% A. You can't get much better than that. Well, I could go on and on about the excellent work completed and the interest that this student has shown in physical science this year. Let me close by saying that it has been my absolute pleasure teaching this student, and I am honored to give this year's Outstanding Science Award to Anya.
I noticed kind of a common theme with all the speeches and being the last one to go here tonight, and I think it applies to mine. One, we're searching for famous people, and two, we're picking up on the humility of kids. And I have a very similar message, but of course a different person. This year's history student, outstanding history student, reminds me of James Madison. Who's our fourth president? He's a man who helped create our Constitution, too. You're not going to find James Madison in your wallet or in your pocket. He's not on our currency. He's not on our coins. That's because Madison didn't seek fame. He sought truth, and he was comfortable letting others take the credit, much like this year's outstanding history student. James Madison was smart. Even Thomas Jefferson admitted that. This year's outstanding history student has earned highest honors every quarter at Brookside. This student's scores on my tests and quizzes were always among the highest. James Madison was a voracious reader. This year's outstanding history student read over 1,000 pages of text and passed all the corresponding quizzes with A's, even the one on the dreaded rifles for weighty. James Madison was an excellent writer and note-taker. Mr. Srini and I have frequently commented on the sophisticated content and vocabulary in this student's writing. And in 2 years at Brookside, I believe this student has taken over 200 pages of notes. That's as many as Madison did at the Constitutional Convention. James Madison was a shy person, but he was a forceful debater. In a similar way, this year's outstanding student didn't like performing in presentations and dramatizations. In fact, I had to tease a little bit about that. However, he was a tenacious debater, quietly but firmly making thoughtful points and politely identifying flaws in arguments used by others. All the Founding Fathers had great respect for James Madison. They appreciated his humble, thoughtful, and quietly humorous ways. They gave him their highest compliment. They called him a gentleman. I would like to pay the same compliment to this year's outstanding history student, Logan Eichbaum. All right, you're stuck with me for a second speech because we divide up the speeches on outstanding citizens. So I'm going to speak about the outstanding male citizen. These are kids, quite candidly, they make our life easier in the classroom. Okay? The winner of this year's Outstanding Male Citizenship Award was a unanimous choice by our team. In a crowd, you'd be hard-pressed to notice him, but he's the kid that you want in your crowd. As you would expect, he's helpful and he's nice. For middle school boys, those can be pretty uncool words. But this man isn't embarrassed by those words. In fact, he once wrote that what he likes about himself is how he treats other people. He's respectful because, in his words, my mom raised me right. When something goes wrong, he takes ownership of his mistakes. Again, something rare at this age. If a young lady enters a room and needs a chair, he gets the chair. Again, something rare at this age. He's funny, but not in that chest-thumping, hey look, I'm funny. His humor is easygoing and playful. As a result, his peers like having him in their group or on their team. And he doesn't annoy his teachers with his humor. He's modest about his talents. He can draw, paint, play soccer, speak 2 languages, yet he never boasts about these things. Well, maybe a little bit after scoring a goal in Floodgate. As a result of his good citizenship skills, he unknowingly earned himself a few privileges this year. The most notable may have been an exemption from the no hats rule in the Brookside dress code. Yes, this year's outstanding male citizen goes to the guy with the matching blue beanie, Andres Perez. All right, and now Mr. Agnew.
This is for the Female Citizenship Award. It's very difficult to write a 2-minute speech for a student who has inspired me for the last 2 years. I hope her parents can hear me because I feel like I owe them a debt of gratitude. It's extremely rare to see a student who literally becomes a young adult right before your eyes. But that is exactly what this student has done during her 2 years in middle school at Brookside. This young woman has taken responsibility for her life, her education, and her future. This is no small accomplishment for a 14-year-old kid. My words this evening won't properly convey all of her accomplishments over the last 2 years. She has worked with a dogged determination to make herself a better student, but it is her kindness and selfless motivation that has always impressed me as well as my fellow teachers. In addition, I want her parents to know that this young woman has inspired me personally. I believe that she has helped make me a better teacher and a better person, and hopefully a better speechwriter. She has worked so hard to improve herself as a student over the last 2 years that she has transformed her life and her future. She should actually be receiving 2 awards tonight. The Citizenship Award she has already earned, but she should also be receiving the Most Improved Student Award. Her academic improvement has been astounding. But it is her kindness, her decency, and her day-to-day dignity in her relationships that have earned her the honor of outstanding female citizenship. With great pride, I would like to introduce you to Lena Pisena.